stroke, end up with a severe case of diabetes. Things that we put in our bodies, different drugs that are not prescribed, the street drugs, they do a lot of different things to our body that we don't recognize, that we don't see going on. I've seen people with 20-year-old bodies have the heart of a 90-year-old man. The unit I'm in right now, they have the model of a heart, and it's the size of a fist. That's the size your heart's supposed to be. If you take your fist, make it up, that's about the size your heart's supposed to be. There's another model of a heart in the hospital that is about this big. And surprisingly, there are people's hearts that get that big. It doesn't happen overnight. It happens over a period of time of abuses that we put on our body, cocaine being one of them, will enlarge your heart, especially over time. So I have had 20-year-old men, 30-year-old men who have been on cocaine for years who had their heart the size of a ham. And your heart's not meant to function like that. It can for a period of time, but all of a sudden, it just won't be able to do it anymore. And you find yourself in the hospital, wondering what happened. Where did things go wrong? They've been going wrong, you just didn't recognize it. And there are changes in your life that you need to make, that I need to make. That's hard for us to do, especially the older we get, to make those changes, to turn our lives around, because for years, we've always done things the same way. We don't know any different. Sometimes it's the way we were raised by our family, with the diet and the lifestyle that we had growing up. That's all we knew. And so to make that change is difficult. And Simon, being a sorcerer, sees that the apostles are coming in performing miracles, and in his world, he was paid to do those things. And he naturally looks at that as, can I have that too? Because he's seeing the apostles lay hands on people, and those same people are able to perform some of the same miracles or have some of the gifts that he sees the apostles have of speaking in tongues. And he wants that. And his natural instinct is to say, I need that, I'm going to buy that. Because he has money. The apostles call him out and tell him, no, that's wrong. Many times we look at people in the church and we want everybody to have their lives together. We want to come in and feel comfortable. We want to come in and feel like there's nothing wrong in the world as soon as we walk in those doors. But the reality is, we still deal with our lives. We still deal with the choices that we have been making over and over and over again. And we still suffer from the consequences of the choices that we have been making over and over and over and over again. But we still have a choice that we need to make. Are we going to continue down that road, or when somebody points it out to us that what we're doing is wrong, are we going to make a change? Or are we going to continue down that same road? Like I said, for years, after being in the church, growing up, going to school, being in ministry, I got burned out. We had not been back into church consistently for probably a good 10 years before coming back. Has there been some backsliding that has happened in my life? Sure. Do I want to make a change? Absolutely. Is it easy? No way. But life is struggle. It always will be. Temptation is always going to exist. And to think that Christians are going to be perfect is wrong. When someone asks you, how's your day going? Don't be afraid to tell them, not good. Yesterday sucked. Here's why. I messed up. Here's what I did. And when somebody speaks up and tells you those things, if you ask the question, be ready for an honest answer. And we should be there to support those around us. One of the things that got me in trouble a lot of times in the churches that we were in was that I would go out and honestly seek out the kids from the lifestyles that the church said they wanted. The families that were struggling, the families where the father was an alcoholic, the mom was a drug addict, which means the kids are going to struggle with those same issues because that's all they know. The kids would come into the church, and the church a lot of times didn't know what to do. I actually had a minister that I worked with one time yell at a little 5-year-old boy who came from one of those families of drugs and alcohol. Because after the service, he was running around the church because it was an open area. He didn't have open areas in his house. I went there to visit a couple of times. Their backyard was full of trash. The house was a mess. He saw an open area, and like any kid his age, thought, what a wonderful place to run and have fun. And instead of maybe redirecting his energy to a safer place outside, he was yelled at and asked, what are you doing here? Why are you here? That broke my heart. I took him to the side, the minister, to the side, and had a discussion with him. These are the kids that as long as I am here, will be here. And you have a choice that you need to make. One of us has to change. That's one of the reasons why I wasn't there anymore, probably. Because I'm not going to change. God calls us, especially me, to go out to the people who are suffering the most and try to give them some semblance of peace and a goal in their life, something to work towards. And an understanding that you are going to struggle. It is not going to be easy. And I expect that when you first come into the church, especially when you come from a background of drugs and alcohol, that you are not going to be perfect. You are going to say things that are probably going to upset people. Your lifestyle is not going to be the way that is perfect and put together. And that's okay. But together, the more you come, hopefully, we are a positive influence on you. And together, we can work our ways out of sin and into everlasting life. Simon was stuck in his sorcery, in his ways of his past, and it was pointed out to him. And he had a choice that he had to make. Which way am I going to go? Am I going to continue down that lifestyle, or am I going to make a change? And for years of my life, it had always been left with me of Simon was just a sorcerer. And it was left as he was sinful in the way he behaved and what he did. But in reality, when you read the verses, when he realized that what he was doing was wrong, he decided to make that change. Verse 24. Then Simon answered, "Pray to the Lord for me, so that nothing you have said may happen to me." Earlier in the book of Acts, there's another couple that is brought up, Ananias and Sapphira. They had sinful lives as well. And I think their example is the antithesis, the opposite of what happened with Simon. They sold property and brought it to the church and presented it as if it were the whole sale and said, "Here, have all of it." And when they were called out, they were unrepentant. And they paid the price for that unrepentance. Simon looks to be different. When it's pointed out to him that what he's doing is wrong, he makes the choice, "Pray for me so that what you have said will not happen." I had no idea that Franklin was going to have you guys here today. I hope you come back. And I pray that the church here is as open and continues to be as open as they are. And when you struggle, anybody in here struggles, this should be a place where we can come to and confess